Greetings. Wait a minute. It doesn't look right. Greetings, family, friends, allies, and enemies. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. Y'all got to give me a few seconds to get myself together because, in the words of Rakim, it's been a long time. While I was away, you know what has broken loose on planet Earth. So we're going to talk about that. A lot of stuff. So much stuff going on that we will be on. Okay, you gave me. All right, cool. So much stuff going on that we will probably be on 2 or 3 times this week. But before I get started, I'm gonna need you all's assistance as I'm wrestling here with my headphones. I'm going to need you all's assistance, and I'll let you all know now. There's 2 things. One, we're going to try to raise some money tonight. Not a lot of money, a little bit of money. We're going to try to raise between $25 and $50 a night. We're going to try to do something else tonight as well. We're going to try to make this the last show that I ask you all for any money. Now, someone's going to ask, how are we going to do that? Well, very simple. We need, at least last time I checked, I'm going to say 10 because some of my subscribers be disappearing. 10 more people to subscribe to the channel, and we will qualify for full monetization. If we achieve full monetization, I won't have to ask you all for any money for the cost of the channel. The cost that the channel incurs that'll be offset by YouTube, and then I can just make content, and you all will watch it, and you'll get more people to watch it, and more people will watch it. So that's the goal. That's the plan. So that's the goal for tonight. So I'm going to start off with, brother, you got ripped off. Help me out. Do not let me go more than 40 minutes talking about this Sean Combs thing. The goal is to get on here and be done by 10:05. Right? So we're going to dedicate 40 minutes or less to Sean Combs. 40 minutes or less to Trump assassination, and then the remaining minutes to what's going on in the quote unquote Middle East. And tomorrow or Thursday, we will get deeper into the Middle East thing because it's so much stuff is happening so many ways that So before I get into all of that, first of all, BB488 to Sister Not J, BB488 to Sister Vanessa, BB488, bro, you got ripped off, BB488 to Eshu Ogun. I did not see Brother Jarake, but I got to thank him. BB488 to Kevin, peace to Lord Vale, Straight Black Private Sister Nina. I think that's everybody I saw. So if I have not shouted you out, do not take it personal. I see I greeted the audience, so maybe you said that before I did. So let's get into it, right? Before we talk about the puppy thing, let me just say this. We have stepped much further. I know I said I'll talk about the puppy thing first, but whatever. We have stepped much further. And you all who have been following me and listening for and watching for a long time, well, all of this year, we've been covering the unfortunate march towards World War III. All this year, right? All this year. And now when you look at it, here we are. One step closer. Now, there aren't a lot of steps closer we can get before we're there. This is the problem. Tomorrow, I'm going to go deeper into it, but here's the basic layout. Israel wants to get the U.S. into war with Iran. Here's the fundamental problem with that. The U.S. gets into war with Iran means that the U.S. gets into a war with Russia, which means U.S. gets into a war with China and even possibly India. Now, let us add up the populations of the people we just named. About 150 million people in Russia. I forgot to check the demographics on Iran, but I'm pretty sure it's at least 200 million people. Now, I'll check that for tomorrow. I have everything straight. And 1 billion people in China. And 1 billion people in India. Right? So that's 2.5 billion people to 350, because remember, Israel don't even have any people to contribute to this mess here. 350 million people here, and maybe another 150 million people in Western Europe. 2.5 billion people, 0.5 billion people. Are we starting to get the picture here? The idea that the United States can just roll over Iran. I mean, sure. Get your military technology. Yeah. Here's the problem. Plain and simple, the problem is, while you're getting ready to try to fight Iran, remember, when you fight Iran, you have to fight Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. Right? You're like, oh, that doesn't sound very formidable. Well, the Houthis now have hypersonic missiles, and Iran has hypersonic missiles. And those hypersonic missiles came from Russia and China. Do we really think, does the United States, let's think about this, does the United States military really think that they can march into war with Iran and defeat Iran when you couldn't defeat Iraq? You couldn't defeat Afghanistan after 20 years. Afghanistan just went and had a parade with all the US's weapons. Right, look it up. What Iran just did recently, and we'll show it, that was the warning, because they just met with Russia and Russia said, yeah, nah, you can go ahead. Understand, Mr. Putin just told the US, keep playing. These Russian people view the West as an existential threat. They're not playing with these people. They view this as the last stand. And here's something that most people don't talk about. While the U.S. is kowtowing to Israel, Israel is trying to reach Russia through backdoor channels. So Israel are ready to flip on the U.S. to try to cozy up to Russia. Yeah, they ain't gonna talk about that on the news. Like, well, DC, how you know? Hey, man. Some of these Telegram channels and some of these, it's a lot of former U.S. military official and whatnot who see which way we're going, who now they're just spilling the beans on everything. They're like, hey, this is crazy. Wow, this is going on. This is happening, and this and this. I can't even keep up. Like, I would literally have to sit and just watch this stuff all day. So sometimes I just play it in the background and just, because it goes to your subconscious mind. Right? So I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff going on. And of course, right here in the US, this strike, the devastating hurricane, that's a whole, I had to get to that, later in the week. So, and whether you got ripped off, don't let me forget at 9 o'clock or around 9 o'clock, don't let me forget to announce that Brother Genie will be at Everlasting Life Cafe on Saturday, October 5th. That's Saturday, right? Yeah, that's Saturday. And if you could do me one other thing, brother, if you're able, if you're not, just let me know. Can you let the people in the Telegram groups, can you share the link and let them know we on? I didn't get a chance to do that. I was trying to figure out why my headphones are in the condition they're in, but I didn't pay much for them and I haven't been taking care of them. So that's the reason. But I didn't know they were in as bad a shape as they were. So yeah, so that's that. So now that I have set forth the parameters, I can untie my tongue of the show. Let's get to our first article, which I just saw this today, and I'm like, oh, the wolves are out. So more than, as y'all see, more than 100 people could accuse Sean, quote unquote, Diddy Combs of abuse, violation, and new lawsuits. So we're going to look at some of these allegations because I just saw this today. Rapper Sean Combs, first of all, this is interesting. Let me start right here. I haven't got started. I find it so interesting. Greetings to Brother Lee. I find it so interesting that suddenly a music executive, right? When things were going well, he was a music. No, first of all, actually, when things were going well, he was a music mogul, right? When he was doing Rap the Vote and all that stuff, he was a music mogul. He's been demoted from mogul to executive to rapper. Now he's just a rapper. You see how the media works. Now, look, let's be honest. I despise Mr. Combs and what he represents. I didn't want to say that publicly. I'll say it again. I despise Mr. Combs and what he represents. I also despise Mr. Combs for the fact that I personally believe, and this is according to the man who was involved in what took place, that he paid the bounty for the assassination of Mr. Tupac Shakur, right? Like, how people just forget that part of the equation is beyond me. So, with all that being said, I still do not like the way that the focus is on him, as if he is the only person in Hollywood doing degenerate, savage, barbaric behavior. Like, again, making the Negro male the face of evil. Like, this is an obvious attempt by those who shall not be named. And by the way, I'm going to after we get fully monetized, I'm gonna have memberships, like monthly memberships, so y'all can join that. And I'll let y'all guess, and I'll have some. I'm working on getting some emojis for y'all, some new emojis. Some hats. We'll have some hats, different kinds of hats. Because we talk about hats all the time, so we'll have different hats, right? So I just wanted to say that because as soon as I saw the fact he's been demoted from, being a multi-millionaire music executive and producer and all this other stuff he was doing. Now he's just a rapper. Now, let's get back to the article. It says that he could be accused of abuse and exploitation by more than 100 people in a series of lawsuits expected to be filed in various states over the next 30 days. The attorney for the accusers announced Tuesday the latest among numerous similar civil lawsuits pending against the music mogul as he awaits trial following a high-profile indictment this month. Houston-based lawyer Tony Busby, I don't know why that name sounds familiar. When I read it the first time, it sounded familiar. It still sounds familiar. Said he is representing 120 accusers who plan to file civil lawsuits across multiple states alleging crimes, basically all of a sexual nature, just a litany. He claims that will include many powerful people and many dirty secrets. Lawyers for Combs filed a notice asking the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in the Southern District of New York to overturn the decision to hold him in prison while he awaits trial, a choice Judge Andrew Carter made, citing concerns Combs had allegedly tampered with witnesses who had been contacted in the past as part of the investigation against him. 27th, so they're going backwards. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. Whatever. Combs was accused of drugging and violating a woman on multiple occasions, with the woman identified as Jane during a lawsuit further alleging becoming pregnant after one of the encounters. She is seeking undisclosed damages. Now let me stop right here. It's not that I doubt any of this stuff. But this is what I hate in these situations. I hate that everything is about the money. Now, some things, the statute of limitations may have taken place. May have passed. And look, I understand. Mr. Combs is very powerful. You pay people to have you eliminated. I understand all that. But there's just some things that when they happen, someone has to have the courage to step up and say, especially the men, because there are men involved in some of these cases, by the way. No one wants to talk about that part. I'm just being completely honest. I personally, this is me, cannot imagine some type of situation like that. You drugged and whatever takes place, and then you let it go or whatever happens, and then you bring it up years later and ask for money. No, that's not how that's going down. Whoever you are. The question is, can I say that? The question is, are you Superman? Like, can this person resist armament? If you get what I'm saying, right? Are you, do you have the dexterity of Batman? Are you protected like the president? Because if the answer is no, things will have to be handled Chicago style. I'm just saying, like certain types of violation, you're a man, and certain types of violation, there has to be some retribution of a heinous nature. Y'all get what I'm saying here. I'm speaking in code. That's all I'm gonna say. So, for some of the women and things, and they're trying to get into the industry and stuff with on, or whatever the case may be, the casting couch stuff that I call it. Okay, I can understand that. But the men, no sir, no sir, no sir, no sir, no sir, nope. Some got to be some retribution. But hey, that's just me. Fortunately, I'm not in that situation. Okay, let's see. Says Thalia Graves filed a federal lawsuit in New York on Tuesday, claiming she was offered a glass of wine by Combs and Sherman. Okay, who's Sherman? Did I miss something here? When she was 25, that made her lightheaded, dizzy, and physically weak. before she lost consciousness and was attacked by the two men while her hands were behind her back. 2001. Okay. First of all, and y'all can hear me, right? I'm still on. Give me a 1. I don't hear much of that shit. 2001. That is that's a lot of pain to hold for a long time. That's all I'm saying. It's almost a quarter century, and like your whole life has been destroyed by that. Like anyway, let's continue. Combs was sharing a unit with Sam Bankman-Fried at the Metropolitan Detention Center, according to the New York Times. That's wow. Says, and we're not gonna go back through all of this slide. So I'll just say this. The crimes he's accused of are heinous. The chances that he did some percentage of them are high. And whatever he receives will be just. The problem I have, as I stated previously, is the act as if he is Bibi Faudier, Rud Jarake, and Bibi Toomey to Asafo. And Rud Jarake, make sure you send me an email. I don't know if you sent me one before. Make sure you send me an email so I can have it. So when I get some of these clips, exclusive clips, Brother Genie, I can send those to you immediately. Thank you for that, brother. I got that earlier today. As I was saying, the stuff is heinous, but I hate the painting of Mr. Combs as the bad guy, the villain of Hollywood, because we understand, again, and we showed this on a previous show, casting couch's been around for 100 years. There were no black people in Hollywood 100 years ago. Like, I just read something about what's her name, Shirley Temple, and that was just it was horrific. Again, that stuff was in black and white. I don't even know. I guess I was in the 30s. So that's almost 100 years ago. So to act as if Mr. Combs is the number one villain is just disingenuous. Right? All right. So let's move past that. Let's go way, way back, because we're going to talk about we're gonna bypass this. We don't need that. Bypass that. We covered that. We're gonna go way back, way, way back, because I want to talk about the person who got Mr. Combs into a lot of this activity, allegedly. Right? Now let's go back. Let's talk about the money. Arista huffing and puffing over Puffy's $50 million. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this is from June 3rd, 1999. Like, these are your, why are you bringing up stuff from 25 years ago? Well, everybody's bringing up stuff from 25 years ago. Says Sean Puffy Combs may have some trouble paying off a hefty debt, at least for a while. Last year, Arista Records chief Clive Davis gave the rap impresario a $50 million advance on future earnings. Davis, whose BMG owned label owns half of Puffy's Bad Boy group, decided to be generous because Bad Boy pulled down a whopping $113 million in sales last fiscal year. But this fiscal year is another story. Bad Boy sales will probably be closer to 30 million, sources say. And now Puffy is facing charges that he beat up Universal Music exec Steve Stout. Weirdly enough, Steve Stout, one of Nas's friends, and I'm pretty sure that Nas and Puffy had a collaboration around that time. Anyway, BMG exec, Arista officials, and Puffy's rep declined comment on the sales figures and the advance. Arista gave Puffy an advance predicated upon the success of his company, said Charles Goldstruck. You can't really make that name up. I've never heard that name, Charles Goldstruck. Okay. Arista's executive VP and general manager. While declining to confirm the amount of the advance, he called the payment commensurate with the level of business and our expectations for the future of the business. Combs still has a very robust business we're satisfied with. Now let's stop right here. Understand, we're not talking about today's $50 million. We're talking about a quarter century ago, $50 million that Mr. Davis loaned Mr. Combs, and Mr. Combs apparently didn't have the sales to pay back at the time. Number one, regardless of how successful Mr. Combs has been, that's an extraordinary amount of money for the time. Number two, Mr. Combs' number one musical asset was deceased by this time, and that was Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls. So it was an interesting timing of the investment. Number three, money like that does not come. It comes with strings attached. And as they said, Mr. Davis owns 50% of Bad Boy. Why? Because Mr. Davis is the one that put up the money for Mr. Combs to go independent. Now, somebody's going to say, well, okay, well, who's Clive Davis? Because I've never heard of him. I'm just going to play a clip of Mr. Davis speaking. I want you to watch this clip, and I want you to think about the charges against Mr. Combs. All right? So, y'all know the routine. We go here, we pause music, and we play the clip.
Well, Clive, I'm sure as everyone here knows, one of the big revelations, as the book, began to make its way out there, was you were talking about your personal life, your kind of, discovery of yourself and your bisexuality, and that was something that, you had never discussed publicly before, and it was an important part of the book, and it made a big impact. I wonder if you could, say a little bit about, we've heard so many stories just here tonight. The book very easily could just have been exclusively devoted to music and really had nothing about your personal life in it. Well, what was it that made you feel that it was important, to share elements of your background from Brooklyn right up into, the nature of your sexual life?
All right, I'll do that. And but I do want to say, because somehow in the conversation I had earlier this evening, it became relevant to point out that other than you, Anthony, with whom I collaborated with and for this book from the very beginning, the publisher knew nothing about this. This was not in the treatment. This was not in the presentation.
It was very specifically not in the proposal to sell the book.
It was not in the proposal. So that nobody who bid on this book.
The editor of the book had no idea that it would be in there.
No, this was not trying to get a subject that would make a book sell better. It was none of that. And when you read the book, you'll see it's dealt with in the very last chapter. I knew from the beginning, as I expressed to you at the very beginning, that if I was going to write a book on my life, that there's no question I was going to deal with this subject. It was nothing you and I discussed. It was a chapter that I had to write myself, And I really wrote it last summer on a boat, a trip that I take with my family, because certainly my prime role in life has been my children. I have 4, my grandchildren, I have 6. And I wrote that part of the last chapter and read it to my 4 offspring. We were on the boat together. And I've always had total love and support and understanding that after my second marriage failed, because I had been 100% heterosexual up until that point, that I opened myself up after the failure of my second marriage, having read something about bisexuality. My story was different. I just found that I would open myself up to the possibility of a relationship based on the person and not on gender. And I did, after seeing a man or a woman for about a 4 or 5 year period of time, interregnum, entered into a relationship with a man. And I just revealed that because that's what the facts were and are. And to the extent, when I was aware, I immediately told my children. My children knew of that. My closest friends certainly all knew, because we would take trips together. I would take 3 or 4 trips a year, 2 with family, 2 with friends. We would all do it together. And bisexuality, having turned to it or learned to see what people's reaction were, it was frankly intimidating in the sense that the adage is true. Nobody believes in it. And you're either gay, you're straight, or you're lying, and that's it. And so, you know, you get tired of not making any progress. And all that I could say is, I'm not martyring myself. I'm not brave. This is not affecting my career at this age. This is not affecting my friendships, my professional life, my family situation. But if society is edging forward, as it should, on the subjects of same-sex marriage and a better understanding, and hoping that there's no prejudice, that one could evolve as a society to accept the person as it is, I hope that this revelation or discussion, you know, moves it a step further, and that's all that I want to say on the subject.
Now, that was Clive Davis, who is Sean Combs' very mild and what's the word I'm looking for? But he used language that made it sound very like he evolved, and it like made it sound like he's taking a very enlightened position in regards to the type of activity he likes to engage in. And after, almost like he woke up one day and had this revelation. But more than likely, let's be real. Can we be real here? More than likely, he had been doing this stuff, and then he wasn't able to satisfy his wife, or his wife wasn't able to satisfy him, and then he realized, because he liked things that his wife wasn't able to provide. Right? Like, I mean, that's how this stuff goes now. But the only reason I brought it up is for the simple fact that Mr. Davis is indeed the mentor, and I'm saying it in the way that it was originally used in the ancient Greek. This is Mr. Davis is Mr. Combs' mentor in every sense of the word. and taught him the ropes about engaging this type of activity and using this type of using these type of activities to advance his business. Right? Like, this is an open secret. It's a really open secret now. Like, everybody knows. But you notice that you don't hear one word about this man. Right? Now, if you go back and look at my old video where I talked about the secret connection between Sean Combs and what was the other one? Sean Combs. Anyway, but if you look for it, the thumbnail has Mr. Combs and has Mr. What's the dude's name that went on? He came on Shannon Sharp's show and dropped all this information. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, because for whatever reason, I can't remember these people's names. I picture them in my head. So we discussed that before. Like, if you want more in depth into Mr. Combs and who he's connected with, who he got his money from, in addition to Clive Davis, we covered that. You can go back and look at that. So, only reason I want to look at this, Cat Williams, thank you, brother, is because I want to talk about other people who, over the years, have been seen or partied with Mr. Combs. Because we're not going to act like random black guy is the source of all evil here. We're not going to do it. And then I'm going to be done with this for the time being. Right? Hey, man. Everything y'all discussing in there is disgusting, but I know that's the subject matter. The subject matter is disgusting. I don't even want to even look at it. I don't even want to even look at the chat. Oh my, yeah, man. Oh man. Every time I think about this TD Jakes and what they said, I just wish I had never heard that terminology. It literally makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. It's absolutely disgusting. The idea of Sean Combs, TD Jakes, what's the big giant dude that be dressing up like a woman, dude, about 6'4", 6'5", 220. They be dressing up like people's grandma. Y'all know what I'm talking about. From Atlanta, that dude. Oh man, Eddie Long. Yeah, man. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Tyler Perry. Yeah, he been there. All right. Do I even want to read this? Like, this is sapping my energy. And Diddy's Combs, at Diddy Combs. Chris Christopherson died? No, okay, I didn't hear that. Anyway, the glamorous facade of Sean Combs' infamous Hamptons party has long been a subject of whispers and rumors, but recent developments have cast much darker shadow over the gatherings, with Diddy now being accused of various activities of debauchery and so-called disturbing behavior. It's always disturbing after somebody gets arrested, right? It was a party before people got arrested, now it's disturbing. Mayor Eric Adams, hey man, he gave the man the key to the city. Yeah, boy. Anyway, let's see. A recent article by Chris Harris for the New York Post titled "I Once Snuck Into a Diddy Party" offers a first-hand account that reads like a surreal fever dream, but with the current allegations, the tale takes on a more ominous tone. Harris, a young journalist at the time, describes how he accidentally, infiltrated one of Diddy's legendary infamous summer bashes, witnessing the kind of excess that now raises eyebrows in light of the accusations. Let's see. And we're just going to look at some of the names of some of the people who were there. Now, this is from 1999. Let's see. It says he pretended to be a millionaire financier, Ted Amon. So, if you pretend to be a millionaire financier, that means that Diddy was connected to and surrounded by and party with millionaire financiers. Where is it? Where are their names? Like, I'm really only interested in see who else is going to be, is the light going to be shown on other people involved who are higher up and have more wealth, power, and connections. It says, once inside, Harris described the party that was both extravagant and bizarre. Unclothed women lounged in the pool. models handed out champagne and celebrities like Jay-Z, Sean Carter. It's interesting that Sean Carter is not, like, he has disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, do you hear anybody even mention him right now? Now, we already know, those of us who are learned, we know that Sean Carter is already, for lack of a better word, been in bed with various interesting people, right? Like Marina Abramovic. So we're familiar with that. It says the details once seen quirky signs of an outlandish lifestyle now provoke concern. Jugglers, magicians, scantily clad women dancing on platforms might have deemed eccentric entertainment at the time. Now, let's stop right here. Right? The idea that these type of extravagant events and parties and stuff somehow started with Sean Combs in the 90s is patently and ridiculously false. Because far, far, far before Mr. Combs was even born, a man named Hugh Hefner, right, was doing all of this and more. And the Playboy Mansion was like known around the world at a time before the internet for having extravagant parties with all type of debauchery that whatever you can think of, like a modern day Rome, right? Again, this is in the 50s, the 1950s. So literally 75 years ago or 70 years ago. So the idea that this is new to Hollywood or new to celebrities, or that's the only reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I want to help debunk the myth of that. Yeah, brother, I made a post about that, about Mr. Mutombo. I didn't know he advocated, though. He advocated for experimental therapies. Y'all know what I mean. By the way, I had something taken down today from YouTube that from 4 years ago. I just found that interesting, but I didn't get a strike or anything. But so y'all know what it was about if it got taken down 4 years ago. Anyway, and this says, let's get back to this. Allegedly, this is a picture of Kevin Hart laughing at a girl's hair caught on fire at an alleged party. Now, Harris recalls heavy scent of marijuana in the air, deafening music, and throngs of paparazzi snapping photos of the elite. Now, hold up. I guess they were outside as people were coming up. Because I'm like, if they were snapping photos, then what in the world? Among the celebrities were Russell Simmons, that ain't no shock. Betsy Johnson, the model, interesting. And Ivanka Trump. Well, that isn't that interesting. That's Mr. Trump's former wife, right? Ivanka. Y'all help me out. I get these people mixed up all the time. He says Harris' descriptions of never being questioned despite not belonging at the party. He roamed freely, brushing shoulders with A-list celebrities, and even thanking Diddy for the party. But beyond the glitz and glamour, Harris reveals that some party goers were passed out, including the woman who had helped him sneak in. In hindsight, these moments raised red flags. Diddy's name has been linked to various scandals over the years, and that part is definitely true. But the current allegations are far more serious. Parties once seen as the epitome of excess are now being re-examined for potential signs of something more depraved. This is what I'm gonna say. This is what often happens, and this is what I've learned from talking to women who are connected to people at various levels of power. Now, I'm gonna just be honest. Some of the women that you have to talk to learn these things are not exactly the most upstanding of citizens. Right? You understand what I'm saying? But I like to talk to women, and women like to talk to me. And if you talk to women, I would learn even more if I was on the West Coast or whatever. But DC is a center of power and lots of stuff goes on here. And women got stories to tell. What generally happens in situations like this is that a person like Mr. Combs, the more power and money they accumulate, the more they want to delve into things that they've never been able to do. And the more they get drawn into those things, then they want to expand and get other people into those things, right? Because that's how he got into it. Other people brought him into it. And one of the things that I heard him say, was it him? No. One of the things that was alleged that he had said, according to Jaguar Wright, was that his engaging with men was a power trip. Almost like the same way dudes in jail, dudes are incarcerated, right? It's interesting if you have Brother Genie's book, the psychology of that, he goes into that, right? The book, second book, that actually his third book. So I just find that interesting that you can see the site, you can literally see Sean Combs adopting the psychology of the people allegedly who taught him this death style, and him being drawn into it and mimicking it and mirroring it, and now it's being brought up before the world as if he was the inventor of it, when indeed that is not the case, right? So I'm done with Mr. Combs. If something of note happens in regard to that, we'll go back to it again, because this is the second time that I've talked about him this year. Enough's enough. So we're gonna take that and that and that and move that out the way. All right. Really, you got ripped off, and how am I looking on time? And oh, hold up, let me do this. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc_radical_one, on OTW2, which is a Black-owned free speech platform, OTW2 at dc_radical1. You can donate via Cashapp, $DC_radical1. And of course, you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. Now, brother, you got ripped off says that I am supposed to be telling you all, which means I actually have to find it. I'm supposed to be telling you all that our brother, Irritated Genie, will be at Everlasting Life Cafe this Saturday at, I believe, and let me look up the time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This event will be, check it out, free. However, it will not be live stream. Now, someone's going to ask, well, brother, will it be recorded? That's the plan. The plan is for it to be recorded, and how it will be disseminated after being recorded, I will have to check with our brother. But again, now, E-Life is located at, I believe the new address is 9033 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland, 20743. Give me a second to check and make sure that all of that information that I have just given you is completely and totally accurate. Yes. So, yep. Here we go. African Survival in the 21st Century 2025 Lecture Tour kicks off Saturday, October 5th, 2024, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Daylight Time, or whatever time, at E-Life, again, 9033 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland. This is free. You can go to my Instagram page and see the flyer Also, I will put the flyer on the community page of the YouTube in the morning, right? So that is the initial kickoff of a tour that is planned to go throughout the winter, right? Also, if you live in a city where you believe that Mr. Genie needs to come to rouse the people and do the work that he's been doing for 30 years now, you can contact him at liberation@waronthehorizon.com. You can send an email to liberation@waronthehorizon.com. Also, don't forget, we are, at least as far as I checked, 8 people away. But I'm going to say 10 because sometimes they subtract people. I'm just being completely honest. 8 people away. 8 subscribers away. Let's see. Yep. 8 subscribers away from being qualifying for full monetization. So tell a brother, tell a friend. Hit the subscribe once again. All right. Now, on to our next story. Oh, and brother, you got ripped off. Say time to pass a collection plate for the Do Nation. That's Cashapp. That's $ DC Radical 1. And I greatly appreciate it because, hey, freedom ain't free, as a brother once told me a long time ago. And I didn't get it then, but I get it now. All right. Let us move on. Talk about the Trump assassination, because the way they're trying to get rid of him, there could be another one happening right now as we speak, you know. By the way, speaking of that, and I guess I'll find the clip. This is actually the third one, because there was another attempt that he was warned about. And what happened, I don't know if you all saw the video. If you saw the video, before they to RBG, he was supposed to have an interview, and the lady was talking to him, and he answered the question. He was like, "I've just been told that there's a threat, so we will." He tell her, he's like, "I'll finish the conversation, but we gotta get out of here," like something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he like literally like pushed her. Like, all this is on camera. He like pushed her like, "Yeah, all right, turn that off and get out the way so we can get there." Brother, you got ripped off says he asked a question about the $40. You say how close? It's the opposite. You know how the Christians say how long, not long, and they still waiting. You say how far? I'm gonna say very far. That's what I would say. All right, so let's get to this real quick, because I think I'm only spent 20 minutes or so on this. That's Ryan Roof. That's the guy who, for whatever reason, decided that he didn't want Mr. Trump breathing anymore, and he wanted to do all he could for the Ukraine. Now, what his connection to the Ukraine is, I haven't really investigated, because, you know, everybody kind of, so much stuff has been going on, people kind of forgot. And let me say this real quick, and I need to do a video on this. The idea that I see from a lot of quote unquote conscious Black people that these are false flags, or they're not actually trying to get rid of Mr. Trump. Understand something. The goal of the stated goal, well, no, not the stated goal. The goal of Israel, and they have their lobby here, AIPAC, that controls the Congress, and they control the executive branch at this time based upon the number of people that they have, dual citizenship and all that in the executive branch. You understand what I'm saying? The goal is to get the United States to go to war with Iran. That's the goal. That's the state. Actually, that's the stated goal. That's like public. I'm not breaking any new information here, right? A war with Iran, as we stated previously, is a war with Russia, which is 75% of a war with China, which is a 50-50 war with India. And it's so bad of an idea that Turkey is discussing flipping and joining the Muslims. I just want y'all to think about that. The reason why that's significant is because Turkey is part of NATO. And they're thinking about flipping. Because they're still a Muslim country. And when your constituency is a lot of Muslims, right? If the Muslim world swings one way and you act like you don't hear it, let me tell you something. Let's just be honest. Religious zealotry amongst Muslims is not like religious zealotry amongst other people. Like, yeah, religious zealotry amongst Christians in America is mixed up with racism. So you see people do extreme stuff, right? Religiously zealous Muslims who believe that they are fighting a jihad because the faith is under attack, if that becomes the standard narrative, everybody that's standing in the way, regardless of their position, is getting obliterated. just plain and simple, because that's how it goes. I was saying earlier, because I was watching a channel with a Middle Eastern gentleman. I'm not sure of his origin, so that's why he's just Middle Eastern. All right. And I was looking at his chat was going through as he was showing Iran's response. And in the chat, someone said, Iran is now the head of Islam. And I said, okay, that's interesting. Here's why it's interesting. First of all, that should not be possible because the majority of the Muslims on earth are Sunni, right? The minority of the Muslims are Shia. The Shia are actually more religiously, their religious fervor amongst them is actually stronger, believe it or not. Like, people forget, America was paying Saddam to keep down the Shia in that region for years, right? He was an asset for them. Because people forget, they installed the Shah and then they kicked up the religious fervor and they just said, you know what? We need a new government. And it wasn't no voting. They just ran the dude out and took over the United States Embassy. Think about what I'm just saying. They took over the United States Embassy. Why do you think it's so easy to spook people in America with the whole Iran thing? Like, as soon as you say Iran, these people start shaking in their boots because they haven't forgotten. That happened in the 70s. In fact, that's how Ronald Reagan won the presidency by a landslide. He won the presidency by a landslide because Jimmy Carter's people could not get the hostages out. And it's known now that the Reagan people made a backdoor deal to keep the hostages until the election. Yeah, politics in America has always been a dirty game. And while Republicans are demonizing the Iranians now, they were making backdoor deals and weapons deals with the Iranians back in the day. It's called the Iran-Contra scandal. Why should we care about it? Because the Iran-Contra scandal is connected with the bringing in of cocaine into the black community in the early 80s, late 70s by the CIA. Gary Webb's Dark Alliance lays all of this out. So, just a little history for those who probably weren't around. Right? So now we're at the point where the United States, once it's going to be drawn in by Israel to a war that Israel is currently fighting. Let us look at it. Israel is currently fighting Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Lebanon, because the Lebanese government and Hezbollah are actually two different governments. Right? So those are the people they're fighting right now. Mind you, I didn't say anything about Russia. And China's just waiting to see which way the wind blows before they tell you what they do. Because China may very well wait till the US gets bogged down in the so-called Middle East and then attack and take over Taiwan. Now what? You see what I'm saying? So when people say, okay, you telling me all this, but what does that mean? This is why they want to get Mr. Trump out of the way, because what has Mr. Trump been saying? He literally put out some stuff that said, I will help avoid World War III. Now, how people haven't heard this or don't think about this. If you're saying you will help avoid World War III, that means you're saying the other person will walk us into World War III. How nobody even responds to that and says, well, wait a minute, why would you say that? And can you prove it? And Miss Harris, what is he talking about? But nobody's talked about it. Have y'all heard anybody talk? Y'all let me know. Have y'all heard anybody talk about that? Because I've heard Mr. Trump say that. Like, everybody's focused on what he said with her and the gender change for the inmates and all that old wild stuff. So now that we talked about all that, that's why these assassination attempts are important, because what they're telling us is that the goal is to move him out the way, because let's just be honest, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. No one knows what Mr. Trump is going to do on any given day. So just because you pay him, or you threaten him, or you be his friend, or no one knows. Look, to the point that even Mr. Putin said, hey, man, the Trump guy, you never know. Which means they know exactly what Harris will do. Right? Think about that. So this idea that Trump is, I don't know what people are saying, like paying people or this stuff is fake or this and that. Tell that to the person that was deleted in the first assassination attempt. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's just read this article so we can go on, because remember, I'm supposed to be off of here by 10. Right? That's what I said. So let's get to the article. Ryan Roof, the man charged with attempted assassination against former President Donald J. Trump, pled not guilty. I always thought it was pled, past tense. Am I wrong? Because they always write that it's pleaded. Yeah, whatever. In federal court on Monday. The arraignment in West Palm Beach lasted just 3 minutes as Roof's attorney, Christy Militello, entered the plea on his behalf to all 5 counts against him. She waived the reading of the charge and said the defense wanted a trial. Now, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to just be completely honest. This sounds like a trial where this guy is going to be rambling on about his beliefs and stuff and saying all types of wild stuff, and they eventually are going to have to gag him and take him out of court. That's what this sounds like. But the interesting part is he may spill the beans on some stuff accidentally, because those things happen. Anyway, Roof 58, wearing a brown jail uniform, looked directly at reporters as he entered and exited the courtroom. His attorney spoke with him when he sat down ahead of advancing to the lectern, handing him what appeared to be a business card that he put into his breast pocket. He also laughed at something they said and took out his dark-rimmed glasses to read something they showed him on a cell phone. On September 24th, a grand jury in Miami returned a 5-count indictment against Roof. The indictment charges Roof with attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, possession of a firearm in furtherance of a violent crime, and assault on a federal officer, as well as being a felon in possession of a firearm and possessing a firearm with obliterated serial number. Interesting. I didn't know that. Roof said, "Yes, Your Honor," on Monday when U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart asked him whether he understood the charges against him. Should he be found guilty, the assassination attempt statute carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. Trump was golfing on September 15th when, according to authorities, a Secret Service agent spotted Ralph with a semi-automatic rifle behind a chain link fence and shot in his direction. Law enforcement said Ralph was unable to get a shot off and he tried to flee the scene, but was later arrested. Ralph left a box with a note in it to an unnamed associate several months ago, urging others to finish the job. I forgot. Of trying to eliminate Trump if he failed, offering $150,000 to anyone who was successful. U.S. Magistrate Judge Ryan McCabe on September 23rd granted prosecutors' motion to keep Ralph in detention rather than release him on a $250,000 bond into the custody of his sister, as lawyers for Ralph saw. Now hold up. Here's what's interesting, right? Let's go back and let's look at this guy. Does this guy look like he has $25,000 to bond out and $150,000 to pay for someone to finish what he's doing? So where is the money coming from? That's my question. And why did they put out the note which asked people to finish the job and tell people that there's money involved? I mean, think about it, right? Because, hey, the way the economy is going now, there's somebody that's like, they're at least going to look and see, I wonder if he got the money. I mean, it's somebody that would take him up on that offer if they really believe he had the money. So that was that. And of course, the fundamental problem that we had is that there's still there's still a month and 4 days to the election. I will be shocked if something else doesn't happen. And I believe the vice presidential thing just started. So y'all know how I feel about JD Vance. Do not like that guy. And what's his name? Tim Walz. Yeah. I don't even, man, listen. That guy. So that's all I got to say about this right now. Oh no, that's not. Let me slow down. That's not all I have to say. Mr. Trump made the unfortunate and ridiculous statement, or has made it, blaming Iran for the attempts on his life. This is stupid. I'm just gonna say it. Look. I'm not saying Mr. Trump is stupid. I'm saying his he's going by what he's told, so he's falling for the bait. His finger pointing of Iran means that if something actually happens to him, they're successful. Everyone's going to blame Iran, which means that the United States will go full-fledged into war with Iran. But who did I say earlier wants the U.S. to go to war with Iran? Right, exactly. So therefore, if there's a group of people who want you to go to war with Iran, and they know by deleting you after you said what you said, it's obvious that those people are the ones who actually want you to be removed from the planet. But hey, man, sometimes the obvious just is what people cannot see. So what I'm gonna do is look at this clip real quick on Mr. Trump's attempted assassination, and then we will get on to the last part of the show so we can get out of here in the next 40 minutes. So pause on that, run the clip.
Happened again. The U.S. Secret Service says there has been another attempt to assassinate former President Donald Trump. The would-be assailant is in custody this morning. Let's bring in Fox's Doug Luzader joining us live in Washington, D.C. Doug, good morning.
Good morning.
So there are renewed questions now about protection protocols, because we know that there are kind of commercial streets right on either side of this golf course. Perhaps that's how he got in. We just don't know. But the question everybody's asking this morning is, how was he able to get in?
Yeah, I guess, the good news is that there was a Secret Service agent that according to reports, spotted this weapon and he took action before anything happened. It does raise questions about why more perhaps wasn't done at the perimeter of this golf course to ensure that no one was there. The kind of bubble that surrounds a former president is not the same as that surrounds a current president. Now, the thinking on that may change. It's difficult to say, but at some point you can't close every single road around a former president. So this is where there's a real balancing act that the Secret Service has to pull off here. Did they do enough? That's going to be one of the questions, no doubt, moving forward, as Congress, for one, is already investigating that first assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, just over 2 months ago. And
you have to think, you've got to wonder what this guy was thinking. He said, somebody tried it before, now I'm going to try it again. We know that there are copycats out there, right? But the bigger question is what does this mean for former President Donald Trump moving forward as he continues to campaign as we head into November?
Well, there's no indication this is going to change the campaign schedule. We don't know anything as far as that's concerned. But it certainly does raise some questions about the level of security. We know that security has been enhanced around the president's public events in terms of securing these big rallies that he has, that kind of thing. That's what happened during that first assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. It was at a big rally. This was different. I mean, this was a closed event. This wasn't something that was on the president's public schedule. It's probably not a leap for someone to assume that the president may be playing golf on his day off, but nevertheless, this isn't the same kind of event that we saw during the first assassination attempt.
And very quickly, Doug, before we let you go, what do we know about the suspect?
Yeah, 58-year-old Ryan Routh from most recently from Hawaii. He had also spent some time in North Carolina. His social media would indicate that he was a Harris Biden supporter, although there had been some previous statements that may have been positive toward President Trump. He had according to the Associated Press, I believe, had donated to some Democratic causes. So we're still in the process of learning more about him. Unlike that first assassination attempt, in this case, we have a live suspect that can be questioned.
Very good point. All right, Fox's Doug Luzader reporting live from Washington. Always appreciate you, Doug. Thank you.
All right. He brought up something important there. At least I thought it was important. That this wasn't a public event. So the question has to be asked: how does this guy know, or how did he know? Excuse me, that Mr. Trump would be there? I don't think that question's ever been answered. It's interesting. And there were reports, which now they're saying are false. So I don't know, to be honest, that Mr. Ralph was that he was seen, that he had some connection with BlackRock. Now they're denying those things. I haven't looked that much into them, so I don't know. So anyway, to answer your question, brother, you got ripped off. We are 25% of the way there. Now, last but not least, why is this up here? Let us get into World War III. Steps into World War III. I'll be ready to get out of here because, like I said, I'll probably be back later in the week. So, check this out. We're going to go back and start with this. We remember this. Israel concealed explosives inside of batteries of pagers sold to Hezbollah. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is a good thing. If this is what happened. If this is what happened, this is good because this means that they do not have the technology to randomly access and booby trap anyone's technology, right? If they actually had to intercept it and physically tamper with the product, it's a good thing. Now, it's not good in the sense of like good and evil. It's good as in they don't have the technology to attack anyone anywhere. Because that was what people were thinking at first. Like, wait a minute, how'd they do this? And if they did it like we think, that means they have the ability to attack anyone anywhere. So, like, there were a lot of people who were like high-end tech people. A lot of people were looking around like, oh, hold up. Because the thing is that before the attack took place, Hezbollah knew that some type of attack was going to take place with their tech, and they changed their tech, right? That's why they didn't have cell phones. They had pagers and walkie-talkies. So this actually was a response to a previous attack by Hezbollah on the tech sector, the war, I don't know what they call it, but they have a high-tech war department in Israel, right? I think it's called Division 8200, I believe. If I'm messing that up, my apologies, because I'm going by memory and it's been a while. And so Hezbollah had allegedly made an attack on that group previously, and this was Israel's response to attack their tech, right? Makes sense, because that's what they do. So we're going to read this real quick, because this is part of what has landed us where we are currently. In Beirut, Israel carried out part of its device attack targeting Hezbollah by concealing explosives inside the batteries of pagers brought into Lebanon, according to two high-ranking Lebanese security officials who said the technology was so advanced that it was virtually undetectable. Lebanese security officials watched a series of controlled explosions of some of the weaponized pagers as investigations into who manufactured the wireless communication devices and how they made their way into Hezbollah's pockets continue. Now, one thing I want to say real quick is that when these attacks were made, they were not targeted in a way to where they knew exactly where the individuals were. So people were attacked at the grocery store. Children were attacked because they had the tech in their hand. Out in the public square and all this stuff. So a lot of random and innocent people were killed and hurt and injured in these attacks. Like, we don't want to gloss over that, because that's what happened. Right? It wasn't all Hezbollah fighters, quote unquote, and all this other stuff like they try to say. That may be the target, but that's not everybody who was attacked. The pages used in the controlled explosions were switched off at the time of the attack on September 17th, which means they did not receive the message. Wait, hold up. They did not receive the message that caused the compromised devices to detonate. The officials had a front row seat to see just how catastrophic the blast would have been to those carrying the devices and others around. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay. So they had devices that were not exploded and they got okay. All right. And they got to test them to see what happened. Yeah, that wasn't making sense for me. My bad. Thousands of explosions struck Hezbollah members last week, targeting their pages on Tuesday, and then walkie-talkies a day later. In all, the blast killed at least 37 people, including some children, and injured nearly 3,000, according to Lebanese health authorities, many of them civilian bystanders. The attack blindsided the group, which had opted for analog technologies after foregoing cell phones to avoid Israeli infiltration. I guess this is the remains of a exploded pager. Israel has not commented directly on the attacks, but CNN has learned that the explosives were a result of a joint operation by Israel's intelligence service, the Mossad, which we already knew, and Israeli military. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant tactically acknowledged his country's role in the day after the pager attack, praising excellent achievements together with the Shin Bet, together with Mossad. Both Lebanon and Hezbollah have blamed Israel for the attack. Yeah, of course they did. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Of course they did. They know who did it. Anyway, one of the Lebanese security sources told CNN the way in which the explosive material had been hidden inside the pager's batteries was so sophisticated that it could not be detected, but did not elaborate further as to what sort of checks the devices had gone through before entering the country. So this makes me think that they took it, and this is pure speculation. And I'm trying to think. You know what? I'm not even gonna speculate. I don't even know. I don't. You know what? I was gonna speculate, but I'm not gonna speculate because I don't know. Anyway, the second high-ranking security source said that he had examined one of the compromised pages and witnessed its controlled explosion. He told CNN that the explosive material was laced inside the pager's lithium battery and was virtually undetectable. He added he had never seen anything like it. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. An improvised explosive device has 5 key components: a power source, an initiator, a detonator, an explosive charge, and a case to put it all in. Sean Morehouse, a former British Army officer and explosive ordnance disposal expert, said that only a detonator and explosive charge would have been needed to weaponize the pagers, which already had the other 3 components, which is a power source and a case and an initiator. It had to be done in such a way to make it invisible, Morehouse said, adding that one way to do that could have been modifying the battery itself, implanting an electronic detonator and a small explosive charge inside the metal casing, which would have made it impossible to detect with imagery, for example, X-rays. All right. Other experts who reviewed the footage of the blast also said that explosive devices appear to have been hidden in the pager, suggesting a sophisticated supply chain attack involving a state actor. That tallied with initial assessments by Lebanese authorities. Lebanon's mission to the United Nations said in a letter sent to the UN Security Council last Friday that a preliminary investigation found that the communication devices were implanted with explosives before arriving in the country, tampered with in a professional way by foreign entities. Lebanese authorities determined that the devices were detonated by sending electronic messages to them, according to the letter, which was seen by CNN. Israel was responsible for carrying out the attacks, which detonated thousands of devices simultaneously. The Lebanese UN mission said. The mysterious supply chain stretches from Taiwan to Hungary. Interesting. It says multiple photos from the aftermath of last week's attacks in Lebanon show remnants of the exploded pages, also known as beepers, that were consistent with a model made by a Taiwanese firm, Gold Apollo, and fragments of walkie-talkies identified as a make of a Japanese firm, ICOM. Lebanese officials have said that the devices were used in attacks were Gold Apollo rugged pager AR-924 pagers and ICOM ICV-82 walkie-talkies. Both Gold Apollo and ICOM have distanced themselves from the compromised devices. Now that they have. ICOM said that the ICV-82 model was discontinued a decade ago and could not determine whether the devices targeted in Lebanon were counterfeit or shipped from its company. Counterfeit versions are widely available for purchase on e-commerce websites like Alibaba. Lebanon's communications ministry said the ICV-82 radios used in the attacks were not supplied by a recognized agent and were not officially licensed and had not been vetted by security sources. And there you go. So that was that. I'm not gonna lie, it makes you wonder. I see you, brother. You got ripped off. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. You know, I'm just sitting here thinking that I just hope they're right about how the method of tampering with the devices. But it also makes you wonder too, if that's the case, because that means while they can't randomly attack anyone, it also means that if someone gets access to your tech, like breaks into your house, they can get access to your tech or swap out your tech with something identical and get it in your hand and then remove you from, like, so anyone can still be this attack can still be used against virtually anyone. I'm just sitting around thinking about it, like they opened up a Pandora's box with this thing. But anyway, on to the next article. Israel invades Lebanon and Iran attacks Israel. Iran launched a long-range missile attack against Israel just hours after Israeli forces launched a ground offensive into southern Lebanon against Iran's main proxy, Hezbollah. The dramatic escalation is raising fears of an all-out war in the Middle East. We hear from two NPR correspondents in the region. And yeah, y'all just throw up an advertisement in. Wait, what? Oh, wait a minute. What happened? Did I? Uh-oh. Oh, maybe you have to listen to this. All right, so I messed up. I picked up the wrong, what's the name? But let's just go back to the next article then. We just go to Reuters. Israel vows response to Iran missile attack as fears of conflict escalation rise. Latest developments, Tehran warns Israel's allies against intervening. That just means the United States. Like, there's nobody else involved here. Israel says school damaged by a missile, no casualties reported. Iran missile attack was severe escalation, says Israel. Now let's stop right here. Let's stop for a moment. Y'all remind me to talk about the Israeli doctrine of what they call it, escalating to de-escalate. Now, that's a real thing. Now I know that sounds like some Orwellian double speak, but no. They said their doctrine is to escalate to de-escalate. Now that don't even make sense, but they said it. So they escalated by, again, you had the attack on Hezbollah with the tech. Okay, that's whatever. I mean, it's really war crimes, but hey, whatever. You did that. You've been massacring the people in Gaza. Just blatant, clean, open genocide before the world, like not like 100 years ago, like genocide right now where everybody can see, right? And so then, and you've been killing people in Iran. Like, you've been killing, like, we have reason to believe that they killed the Iranian president. Right? With all that going on, now all of a sudden, when Iran finally said, all right, I can't take it no more. And they talked to Russia, and Russia like, man, just go ahead and do what you gotta do. We got your back. Now it's a problem. Right? Now they're out of order and they're out of control and they've stepped past the boundary and this and this and that. And I'm just gonna say this again. We're gonna review, because I have to say this again because people in America don't get it. And I'm gonna try to get the maps and everything tomorrow, set it off, because I don't even want to get deep into this past about 10, 12 more minutes, because I want to get deeper into it tomorrow. But here's what people have to understand, right? The United States is on Israel's side. NATO is thus on Israel's side through the United States. Israel and the United States don't have a bilateral treaty where Israel has to help the United States if something happens to the United States. That treaty doesn't exist. But the treaty that if something happens to the United States, NATO has to get involved, does exist. Right? So a war, if the United States decides to get into a war with Iran, they pretty much just draw NATO into the war. If you draw NATO into the war, you automatically draw Russia into the war. If you draw Russia into the war, there's a 75% chance that you draw China into the war. And as I said previously, Turkey is already trying to figure out which side they're gonna choose. And no one even talks about India, but India is already kind of in bed and playing footsie with Russia and China as is. Now, here's the thing. Out of all the people that we have named, Israel has nuclear weapons. And Israel has said they would use tactical nuclear weapons. Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, but can Iran get nuclear weapons? Sure they can. Can Iran put nuclear weapons on the hypersonic missiles that we know they can get? Sure they can. Can the United States stop the hypersonic missiles that Russia has from getting to Israel? No, they can't. You know why? Because there's a small possibility that those hypersonic missiles will be launched from a nuclear sub in the Mediterranean. I don't know why no one is thinking about this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's no, I'll just put it like this. If you have a chance, because I don't know what thing it's on, everybody in America needs to go watch the movie War Games. And I'm including like the Joint Chiefs, all of them, because apparently these people forgot. Just watch the movie War Games and just sit down and watch this entertaining film. It's 40, nearly 50 years old now. And just watch the movie and see how this doesn't work. Like, there's no good ending to the scenario that we're walking into that I've talked about. It's just not. There's no way the U.S. walks into this and walks out clean. So really, this should be one of those things where your little brother starts trouble and you just let him fight it out. And whatever happens after that happens. But we know that's not how it works, because the United States has already sent over the Tennessee National Guard over to the Middle East, even though Tennessee and North Carolina have been flooded. This is insane. That's why I want to talk about it, because this is just sheer insanity. And here's the part that no one thinks about. How many people from China and the Middle East are in America right now, having crossed the border for the last 4 years. And you understand what I'm saying? That sure, Israel might be secure from those people. They may not have that problem, but the United States has a whole open border, and you want to go to war, possibly with a country that is taking over the leadership of the Muslim world, which means you will be going to war with 1 billion people, some of whom already live here. Hey man, that is just dumb. Mr. Biden's administration just admitted that there are over 13,000 convicted murderers illegally in America already. Think about that. That's just regular criminals. I mean, how many, as they would say, quote unquote, terrorists are already in America? How many sleeper cells are already in America? Because you don't have a southern border. Like this, I don't hear anybody talking about this. This is complete insanity. You got an undocumented army. You got a fifth column in your country already. And we don't know whose orders they're under and who they're working for, who their allegiance is to. You got massive debt, massive infrastructure collapsing, massive inflation, which is going to be made worse because you got the strike going on, which we'll have to talk about later in the week. Possible food shortages. Natural disasters. You sending untold billions over to foreign countries. And people are talking about voting for more of the same. Are you crazy? The ship is sinking. It's like black people in America have to figure out, are we going to get buckets and dump the water out the boat? Or do we have to get out the boat? And if so, where? Because these people are setting up a global war. What the end game is and how they plan to survive is a mystery to me. I know there are a lot of bunkers and tunnels and stuff that people are building and all that, but maybe I'm wrong with what I'm about to say. But the idea of global thermonuclear war could alter the climate of the planet and make it unlivable for hundreds of years. How you plan to survive that is beyond me. But it sounds very much like a Matrix scenario where people are forced to live underground because they were the ones that scorched the sky against their enemy. Now, for those people that got billions of dollars and live underground and do whatever their plan of survival is, yeah, that's great for them. But for the rest of us, it's like the wrong ending of the Terminator movie. And I personally, I'm not with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't advocate that. So, hey, man, it's just not looking good right now. Things are headed in the wrong direction. And more people need to face the reality of the situation, which is what they say in Spanish, no bueno, right? And the bad part is the Republicans are just as gung-ho about war with Iran, if not more so, than the Democrats. And so the only person that could stop it, he's surrounded by people who are feeding them this narrative about Iran. And since he got Mr. Putin's number, he really should call him and ask him before it's too late. Like, what's really going on? And hopefully Mr. Putin tells him, you are surrounded by idiots, sir, who want you to destroy yourself because you understand that I'm not playing. I will defend my country even if it means that everybody got to go. And while I don't blame Mr. Putin for that stand, that's bad for everybody. I'm just saying. These already stated, he views Ukraine as an existential threat to Russia. Right? As far as we know, Iran may have the same stance about Israel. If they do, then we have a problem. These people are playing games with everybody's lives. So, brothers and sisters, I know I was supposed to read some more articles. Look, we're going to come back later in the week. Probably tomorrow. I'll talk to Brother Gene to see if he's coming on. If he's coming on, I'll come on Thursday. Or I'll come on after him. But we're gonna get into this whole where we stand. I guess I gotta find the a picture of a doomsday clock. Where we stand on the how close to the precipice of World War III are we now? Because as I talk about it, like it's almost like the reality of the situation has dawned on me. Even though I've been following it for a while, but it doesn't get any better, right? It doesn't get any better. We get closer and closer. So, yeah, we are still, as far as I know, and y'all can check if I'm wrong. Again, we're still 8 people away from being fully monetized. My goal really is to get those 8 people by the end of the week. That's the goal. So if you know anybody that should listen to the show or you think would be interested or probably wouldn't be interested, but they need to learn anyway, yeah, convince them to hit the subscribe button. So anyway, don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dcradical_one, on OTW2 at dcradical1. The Cash App, you can donate via Cash App, $DCRadical1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And we are still in the same place we were. Brother, you got ripped off. Let me check and make sure. Yep, we're in the same place we were. By the way, Brother Jarake, appreciate you again. Yeah, I'll see y'all later this week. And I have got another clip from Brother Genie that should be up tomorrow. I don't know if you all remember when Eric Prince said that they should colonize or recolonize Africa. Brother Genie did make a response to that, and I've been trying to clean that up. But the people need to see it, because the people need to see that this is on the plate and this is for discussion. And so I'm gonna work on that tonight and try to get that up tomorrow. So either way, content will be up tomorrow, and we'll see where that goes from there. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We are 99.2% of the way to our goal. So I appreciate everyone who has subscribed lately, because we got a lot of people this month. And yeah, we got a lot of things to discuss later in the week. So with that, I say, leave it for ODA and straight black. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at DC_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A big for ODA and straight black pride.